Yeah, so we are finally live. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Andrei Burlutsky. I'm head of marketing at Master of Code, and I'm inviting you to join our second discussion that we broadcast through our LinkedIn page. Last week, we did a conversation around the results of the poll on the top trends in e-commerce industry that can be addressed, tackled by artificial intelligence and by conversational AI. Together, I have again the guests with me. I have Dmitry Gritsenko, who is CEO of Master of Code. Hi, Dima. Hi. We have Gleb Dobzhansky, who is our technical guru. He is responsible for pre-sale stuff, and he's a great person who creates a fantastic future for all of us. So if you have any questions how conversational AI can fit and extend our imagination around the future, this is the Gleb. Hello, Gleb.
Hello.
Hi. And our special guest that joined us from our Winnipeg office in Canada, Kelly Cassidy, who is Chief Technical Officer in North America. Hello, Kelly. We are super happy to have you with us for the first time.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yeah, super. Guys, so as I said before, we had a poll about top trends that can be addressed in e-commerce space. We had a lot of viewers during the conversation and after all, and I wanted actually to highlight to everyone who is watching us right now that it is live broadcasting. You are more than welcome to put questions to our speakers. Of course, we have prepared the conversation discussion for you right now, but if you have any questions, please put them into the comments in LinkedIn, and I will ask our speakers during the conversation or at the end, depends on the relevance of the question. So guys, last week, we had a poll about trends in FSI space. So we've discussed with our subscribers about banks, discussed insurance, we discussed credit unions, and what are the top of mind of our page subscribers in terms of in these industries, in these areas, and what kind of top of minds can be addressed with AI and or conversational AI. What I will do now, I will share this screen showing like what we get as the results. Yeah, right now you will see the screen. Yeah, and we had like four questions that we have asked our audience, or four trends that looks like a top of mind. The first one is the options, the capability to to provide to the financial industries and its customers the options for biometrics authorization. And actually, we've got 0 answers to this particular trend. I have some reflection and ideas why, but let's move on further. The second one was the trend around the real-time risk monitoring, which is related to, let's say, different types of or conversations around security. So, and risk management in terms of loans, etc. So we'll come to this as a second discussion. The third one, my favorite, and I know why bots for servicing requests actually got most of the voices, because it was done from Master of Code page. We are doing conversational AI, and bots are part of conversational AI solutions. But still, I would ask all of us to focus not only on the discussion who has won and its bots, but also to put into one single story also the fourth question, or the fourth top of mind is fraud and cyber attacks. which is top of mind for FSI industry. And I think fraud and cyber attacks is actually the foundation of any type of digital transformations. And it's actually stated by all of the vendors Master of Code is working with, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, that security first, the rest we just build on what can actually address the other business needs of the business company, of brands. So Kelly, your first time with us, you had a great experience with the with the projects in financial industry. So looking at those results, what can be your reflection, like what you see, what you agree, disagree, what you also observe when you work with the customer and talk with the vendors here in North America?
So these results don't surprise me. Looking at bots for servicing requests, I think makes a lot of sense given how everything has changed in this last year. You're looking at companies wanting to set up call centers from a customer service experience standpoint, and they're not able to do so because of the inability to bring people close together, to train teams to have those types of environments. Many companies are also not necessarily configured to be able to distribute equipment remotely to team members. So this allows the opportunity to build a team securely, remotely, and slowly, but still manage the customer experience by having a lot of those questions answered by bots. It also does allow an organization to own the message in the same words every time so that they can understand that what's going out there is consistent, it is accurate, and it can be updated in real time if needed to provide information without retraining and worrying that some of their live agents folks have not yet had the opportunity to read the updates or to take in that information. So it does provide a very strong customer experience. It provides security, it provides understanding that the information is as intended to be distributed.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing. Dima, last time when we discussed e-commerce industry, you also gave your reflection on the results. Can you this time get also to add to Kelly your reflection on the results in FSI industry?
Mm-hmm. It makes total sense to me as well. And I think the percentage breakdown might not be, if you can pull up the screen, if you can pull up the screen with the stats, please.
Yes.
So it might not be, 100% representative of a large selection of respondents, but I think, with 20% approximation on each one of those, we can reference them here. I honestly think it comes from two things. Like, one is how sensitive it is in relation to security and PII. And second is that there is a lot of mundane requests. There is a lot of small pings that a customer of a bank, financial institution wants to make, or the bank wants to make back to the customer. And the current ecosystem of channels does not do that efficiently. Neither humans nor web interfaces. Conversational experiences, in fact, provide improvement on both of these fronts. Authentication can be done more elegantly, smoother, and lighter on conversational channels. Plus, all these informational transactions and financial transactions can happen asynchronously, can happen in bulk, can happen in a personalized manner through chat much more efficiently than through any other interface. So to me, that makes total sense. And I think, the faster banks experiment, financial institutions experiment with this tech, the faster they find out that their customers do prefer this type of interaction. And from there, they can increase the amount of services they provide and the amount of trust a customer can now build to the financial institution that does not just, send them the credit card payment dues, but also number of different personalized recommendations and a feeling of real care about your financial state versus just, hey, here's what you owe, kind of thing.
This is interesting thing you're saying. I've read recently that, for example, if I'm not mistaken, Morgan Chase has launched the project to help individuals learn about possible investments up to $1,000. And I think this is like a great example use case for conversational AI to learn my behavior, to learn my account statement right now, and to learn the conditions and give me recommendations how I can invest even if I have just $1,000. Make sense? Would you use this?
It totally does, because to a lot of the people, the threshold of entry into some investment activities is so high. They don't really know how to do it. Spending a lot of time with a financial advisor or investment advisor is also time taxing, and your $1,000 does not really deserve, that amount of interactions and time spent. But if you can just, do a microtransaction on $100 investment or $1,000 investment,
Yeah.
with still the bank and the logic of the bank and securities of the bank backing you up, then you would have much less worry and be ready to do it within a chatbot. So I think what you're mentioning here, some of these trends the banks are trying to feel out, is what we see among different banks. So they try to look for these differentiators. They try to look for additional services they can introduce within their conversational experiences, so that the users start using the bank on this new platform and use the bank more. There is, I see these experimentations happening on all kinds of in all kinds of different banks, and they try to be this more friendly advisor now, stay with you more often, be more often part of your financial decision making. How do they do it? It's through microtransactions type of interactions. Mm-hmm.
I also, if I jump in, I also just see that some of the activities that you mentioned, Dima, of how to get into it. People don't know how to do that investment, that initial investment, how to enter market. You see apps like Robinhood, you see apps like Questrade, those services coming in, but they're independent. They're not supported necessarily by a bank on the back end. If you can get a viable and an established financial institution to breach that barrier to entry and have it as a conversational approach to get a consumer to be able to enter and execute on those from the comfort of their home, not having to go to a branch, not having to go to do that, you're going to see, I anticipate we will see a large uptake of more people taking advantage of those solutions as well. It's an understanding of the industry and that barrier to entry of the terms and the actions. It's a lot easier to get an answer from a person in your terms, in your terminology, to make sure you understand it before you take that leap. And that's where a conversational solution and an AI-based solution can help with that, is understanding based on the terms of the individual making the request.
Yeah. Maybe for a beginner investors, AI-powered advisor could be better than some of the experts from a Reddit, like we saw recently.
Kelly, you just helped me to come with another question, then, and Gleb, to you as well. When we are talking about conversational AI solution, can in this case AI algorithms that we have inside the conversational AI solution in a bot, whether it's chat or voice, through such algorithms also to identify a potential fraud that is trying to reach out to financial systems through chatbot interface?
Let me answer maybe. Is there a good potential in fraud detection in conversational AI? For example, bot can ask you question from a context to prove that you're a real person. For example, bot can immediately track your geographical location, maybe some of the history of your transaction, and if some of these factors is new, maybe you started to chat from different country or so, bot can immediately ask you some of the questions from your previous context to identify that it's real you. And if there is some doubts in this answer, some red flags can be set for this conversation. It's for a text, even for text. With a voice, it's more interesting because in a voice, some experts say that this voice footprint on your specific voice is very unique, and you even can authorize with this footprint. Maybe it's not ready for financial institution, but in consumers electronics, it already works. For example, it's Alexa, Siri, you can talk with your voice to this voice assistant, and it will answer just for you with your context. So it could be authorization as well. Maybe via a phone call, like your second factor of authorization that will additionally to measure your voice footprint.
Cool, thank you, Gleb. Kelly, from your experience, who in the financial organization benefits the most from the conversational AI as a business value ROI or as a business stakeholder, and who is responsible for the security aspects when applying such technology, a solution in the financial organization?
So I think that comes down to, from a stakeholder perspective, it comes down to the individual use cases and the teams that you're working with. If you're looking at a commercial banking opportunity, you're definitely going to have the commercial component, the stakeholders there looking at the opportunity to reduce cost of telephone support or live agent support in that perspective to answer the most common of questions. Obviously, there will be an escalation for some of the more personalized transactional ones that require engagement, but this way the system could handle a majority. What is my balance? Can I pay this bill, et cetera, et cetera. From a business banking perspective, you could probably get a lot of value there too, but then it comes down to the additional authorization and security validation of who that person is, because a business account will have different levels of activity, different types of accounts that require access, and different services under the hood that need to be integrated and connected to as well. So it all comes down to, at the end of the day, though, as you mentioned, security, everything needs to be involved there. So there has to be a very valid authentication practice. You need to ensure that that person, who they say they are, you need to, even if it is a trusted computer, who's to say someone else doesn't have that computer and now has access? You still require validation. And as Gleb mentioned a moment ago, context is really going to be a lot of that. And an AI solution, if you're asking questions, you're looking at styles of communication from a linguistic standpoint, you can see if there's suddenly a complete difference in how that person is asking questions if you have previous data to analyze. So you could put some advanced security and monitoring solutions in play to do that, but you need to have that archive of conversation as well to trigger those red flags, like Gleb mentioned as well.
Cool. Kelly, is there somehow conversation design as a discipline connected to the security or secure flow of the user while using conversational AI as a solution to work with his financial information?
So conversational design will probably have a key component in that, in terms of how it asks the questions, how it brings in and engages the customer. But it's going to be under the hood still. If you want to do that context comparison, it's going to be that history of responses from the customer, which will drive that. It's kind of like looking at signature analysis. If suddenly you've got 5 signatures that are the same, but one is different, that might pose something where you want to probe further. And then the conversational design needs to have an escalation pattern. How do we probe further? How do we do that verification? And what level of authentication and authorization now needs to be incorporated into the conversation in order to ensure that person is who they say they are?
Thank you. Dima, you've mentioned and last time and today about the fantastic use cases of conversational AI for the brands to engage external consumers. Okay. What are the use cases for the banks, insurance, or credit unions to apply conversational AI for internal business needs, for internal employees? How it can help them?
It's a good question. So RPA, robotic process automation, definitely has its place internally. There is a lot of, like, the use cases are multiple. It just depends what part of the business process the bank decides to try and automate and start building from there. And it heavily depends on, what currently they have as a bottleneck. And, in different banks, different financial institutions, or different branches even, that might be different and skewed towards one type of activity or another. But one of the big things is like the documents workflow. So somebody needs to sign this if this gets approved by this stakeholder, in case these three conditions held by three other people are fulfilled as well. And you can only imagine how many chats have to happen one after another by humans, essentially going and digging out that information within the system that already has it. And everybody has access to it, but everybody has, separate accesses, separate roles and permissions to access different kinds of information. Now, try to teach people all that process and they still screw up. Now, it's much easier to take all that off their heads, off their shoulders, into the business logic, and then get a bot to ping people when people's inputs are needed, and the rest of the logic is fulfilled by going into the database, grabbing that document, parsing it, getting the right kind of data field, making sure that that data field is within the brackets of that specific condition, and the workflow continues. And now the humans have to be like, 2 or 3 humans in the loop, while eliminating work from 3 or 4 other humans that are stalling the process because they have hard time finding that specific information in time, right? So it's any kind of process that requires data collection for decision making, and there is a lot of that in financial institution, right? So and anybody who has gone to the bank who's been through these processes of documents collection, data collection before they're ready to come in for an appointment, whether they're applying for credit, whether they're extending their credit line, or whether they're doing something else, which is a pretty straightforward straightforward logic for each one of those processes, and just one person needs to sign off on the final report. But to pull all that information together is a piece of work. So that's where the banks are finding a lot of efficiencies. Once again, if you do decide to automate in a certain workflow, you still have to encounter with humans training piece, because now humans have been doing it one way for 5-10 years, and it's a new process, better process, but it's still a threshold of entry to in such a slower moving industry as financial. But again, there's a lot of pressure happening in the financial sector to improve the quality and increase the speed, because you see a lot of disruption happening. There is purely conversational banking solutions. You don't even need to go to any branches. You don't need anything else. You just have a chatbot that you're chatting with, opens your account. It allows you to order a card. You have a card. It keeps all your transactions and keep chatting with you about your financial well-being, right? So that's why if the banks are there to stay, they will have to innovate fast internally to improve the speed and the quality of the service, and externally with their customers, so that that interaction is meaningful and value driven.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for answering, Dima. That's a great, I think, the great summary for our discussion. I see that no question coming this time compared to the last time. It was a pretty tough question, came from from Canada. Gentlemen, dear audience, thank you very much for being with us today. Next week, this week, we start a new conversation around the trends around AI, around conversational AI in sports and entertainment. I think it's a wow industry to think about, because not many media articles and organizations are exploring what's going next thing in the sport and entertainment. So please join our voting. Let's discuss. And next Monday, we're going live again to discuss with our experts and representatives from Master of Codes and from our partners and customers to discuss the sports and entertainment. So thank you once again for watching us today. Wish you a fantastic beginning of the spring and happy Monday. Thank you very much and goodbye. Goodbye, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.